So in today's SMAX user group, we are going to do a bit of a spotlight on Studio App with UnlimitIT. So I have a distinguished guest with us today, Chris, who's from UnlimitIT, and he's going to talk to us about something he's done. So just as the usual kind of reminder for our SMAX user groups, these are live bi-weekly meetings. So every 2 weeks we have one of these sessions. You can access the calendar of topics and recordings from the tiny.cc/SMAXUG topic, or you can go to the registration page, tiny.cc/SMAXUG. Just as a general reminder, and I'll repeat this at the end as well, we've currently got online in the registration all the sessions up until middle of April, but you do need to make sure you register for additional webinar sessions as we add them. So we're going to do a bit of an update, and we'll probably add another couple of months again, but it's just something as a reminder. Otherwise you won't get the invitations into your calendar invites without doing that. All right, so I'm going to do a quick update on our patch releases, just as a reminder, and then we'll get to our special guest. And he has no idea what I've put for him in my slide deck either, so you'll have to put up with that one. Okay, so for 23.05, we have patch 9. You can obviously go to the link to go and have a look at that. That includes obviously a number of fixes. There's also to be aware, if you are a SMA SM service portal, to check on that side. For 24.1, patch 1 is now out. And just as a reminder, obviously 24.1 itself is technically considered a patch on top of 23.4. So 23.4, which came out in October last year, that was the last release that we did, major release that we did in 2023. With our move to 4 releases a year, the odd number releases are in essence a patch, although we are including obviously enhancement requests as part of that, not just fixes. So 24.1 came out in January, so there's a couple of patches of 23.4, and now we're up to P1 publicly available for 24.1 with a number of fixes and a new feature for those using our FinOps solution. So make sure to read all the patch notes. Always review previous patches just to be on the safe side, if you're jumping a few patches. Sometimes there may be a step that's needed for a suite administrator or for a tenant admin. All right, okay, so that's patch releases. And now, I guess it's going to be introducing our special guest, Chris. So, Chris, are you on the line?
Good evening from our side. I am here. Yep.
Good to have you, Chris. So for those who may remember, Chris took part in our SMAXpert Showdown as part of SMAX Denver 2023 and came in second place, just pipped at the post by our reigning champ SMAX City, who with their app. But Chris did something I think was very different with his adoption readiness games, and we got quite a few people asking feedback on kind of how it was done, and maybe even being able to access the app itself. So what we've organised is with today's session is hopefully Chris is going to give us a bit of rundown about him and about UnlimitIT, but also give a bit of details on the app and how you built it, and maybe I might chime in with a few questions as you go, Chris, put you on the spot. But if any of you that are here live today, and for those that are listening on recorded, apologies, but maybe next time when we do one of these sessions, if you have any questions, type them into the chat or the Q&A function in WebEx, and what I'll do is I will look at those and obviously ask Chris the questions as we go. So I'm going to stop sharing. So hopefully that should stop me sharing. And Chris, I'm going to give you control. So no pressure now. All right. You should have the ability to share.
I do.
All right, cool. So ready and raring to go.
Can you see my PowerPoint slide?
We can. Yep. All good to go.
Thanks, Dean, and good afternoon, as I said, or good evening from a very hot South Africa. So just one thing, Dean, just to make it clear, it's unlimited, not unlimited IT, unlimited. We
I did
believe.
I
Hey?
did that on purpose for you, Chris, so that you
Okay.
could pronounce your company properly.
A brain teaser. All right. Thank you for the opportunity and having being able to share the idea we have, how we put it together. We believe it's an exciting topic. And it's quite close to heart in what we from our practice. So we're not very creative when it comes to naming things. So we call it the adoption readiness game. The idea is there's a next edition. So the first edition was focused to the end users, so the service portal and showing it. And we had a bit of fun, which we'll share a bit later on. One of the team members, is an avid Hunger Games viewer, and he came up with, welcome to the games, may the odds be in your favor. So we put a little bit of a spin on that. Before we dive into the application, I think just Dean said, what is it that we do? So we are a South African-based consultancy. However, we have got global implementations, specifically across EMEA, but we've got in the US as well as Asia a couple of implementations. We have a passion for service management across the stack, whether it's the ITSM space or taking it further into enterprise service management, and how automation and integrations can facilitate this. Our team, we believe in building people and being socially responsible. So we've got a bit of a mixed match of eager young guys and girls, ladies, that are willing to think out of the box, willing to be innovative, willing to be creative, and just come up with ideas. And then we've got a couple of older guys, myself included in that. Unfortunately, we need to hand the baton over at some point. So we are, making sure that people are thinking in the right direction. Specifically, if we talk about in this space, having quantifiable metrics to prove a point, or whether it's been successful or not. Our approach would be to be thought leaders to our customers and become trusted advisors. Now, some of our customers, we've been working with them for the better part of 20 years across different labels, and they've followed us across, as we moved along. We've got a culture of continuous learning, which we believe drives innovation. And due to this fact, we believe we are building a sustainable, socially responsible environment for our team. And we are human beings, so we are building that competency for our team, but as well as for the extended families, take care of them. That's who we are in a nutshell. Getting into the app, a game, you might say. So yes, a game. We before SMAX demo came along, we were busy with a podcast series, specifically talking about thought leadership, things that we have seen over the years, and how did we approach certain things with our customers. And a lot of the times when we did implementations of ITSM or enterprise service management, typically, one of the things that makes or breaks a solution is how people adopt that system. Adoption is of critical importance. If people don't know what the system can do or the platform can do or what the benefit the platform can provide to them, your implementation will fail. It might not fail quickly, but it will fail. And there are numerous examples of this globally. So adoption is key, and the thing with adoption is, how do we drive adoption? How do we make adoption fun? Because typically if we talk about adoption, people think about workshops, getting together, show and tells, maybe town halls, maybe brainstorming sessions where we show the capabilities and demonstrate the capabilities, having training sessions. And these are typical things that people do as part of implementation. However, after the fact, when everything is done and dusted, the implementation has gone live, what happens afterwards? And that's when a lot of organizations start losing that drive, that engagement. I've got a brilliant example of one of our customers. We went live with their system. The first incident raised on that system came from self-service. Number one. And for the first couple of days, all the requests and incidents came from a service portal. There was like 2,000 requests and incidents coming from a service portal. But because of the internal environment lacking at that point in time, on how do they facilitate getting back to the customer quickly, maybe driving first call resolution, maybe being a bit more proactive, the people sort of became disconnected because, yes, they used the service portal to engage, but they did not get any feedback. They didn't get any updates or no resolution. So that service portal died a quick and horrible death. We did revitalize it for them, but it's a great example of you need to take ownership of it. You need to drive it. And as part of our podcast campaign, we spoke a lot about podcasts. Not podcast, adoption. How do you drive adoption in an organization? How do you manage and track that adoption? How do you understand whether it's doing what it's supposed to be doing? And as part of that, the idea started coming up about why don't we gamify the idea of adoption for our self-service people or customers as well as for our operator environment? How do we showcase what the platform's capabilities are? And then SMAX demo came around and we thought, well, let's have a bash at it. And this is where the idea of the game came together for us. The problem with the game is how do you put it together? Because from a game point of view, right, you expect you're going to start somewhere and you're going to end somewhere. And a lot of the elements associated to that, potentially you need a storyline. And that storyline, for the game to make sense, you need to present it with data so that the storyline starts making sense. So we had a lot of fun. We started off with the blueprint, as you saw, and the blueprint started evolving as we went through, the activities of the game. So, we understood we needed to start the game in some way. And we were thinking of how do we start the game. Then once we have started the game, tasks needs to be generated because every game has got something that you need to go and do at some point in time. So how do we generate those tasks? What does those task looks like? How do we track that task and how do we interact with the person playing the game and getting them involved and making it fun? So we had a couple of iterations of the game, which Dean never saw, luckily, because some of them failed miserably and some of them we had to change the way that we define it. At the end of the day, what we came up was typically for the older guys. Back when I was a youngster, you had those books, which was like a game book. You read to a specific page in the book, and you came to it, and then you had to make a decision. Based on your decision, the book said go to page 10 or go to page 15 or go to page 20, and then the story changes. So we thought potentially, maybe this could be a fun idea to adopt into the game, to drive like a dynamic environment as part of the game, as well as, let people start playing with it and allowing people like administrators of the game to start adding additional tasks, maybe adding some new things, but still keep the gameplay or the game strategy the same, but with different tasks. And we believe we came up with an agile enough game to facilitate that. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll see we defined that, we needed the service portal because we wanted to present the service portal to the end user so that they can engage with it and that they can see the capabilities that are available to them from the service portal. Then we needed the game itself that drives the flow. How do we track the flow, as well as how to come to the end? And then there needs to be some rules and logic. How do we move through the game? So this is the high-level flow that we came up with, and this is what we based the game on. And then one of the guys that's part of our team is a very graphic designer. He came up with some brilliant ideas. which we'll show now. And it's just a different view of the game, but in a more fun way. If we talk about technically what the game consists of, now obviously there's two applications or two studio apps that became part of the technology. The one would be how to track the progress of the game, and the other one would be an assignment of those tasks. How do we measure what do the guy need to do? What does he need to do next? And there needs to be, a mechanism to validate that the person actually did it. And these are some of the stuff that we did in the tasks. Then obviously, since we had a couple of data field changes on the person record so that we know who the person is that's playing and what their status are so that we can track them. We made heavy use of knowledge management to, albeit that we want the person playing the game to interactively explore and identify themselves where to do certain activities. Potentially they can get stuck and then they might just get de-interested and not play the game further. So as part of knowledge management, we created knowledge content to show them, for example, a simple one would be, how do I change my avatar? So how do you go and change your avatar? Simple things like that. And then we also, as part of that, added a gameplay, like a little story of what the game is about, and created a bit of a storyline against that. As part of keeping track of the process and the game, we utilize request management or service requests so that we can start tracking that and interacting. And then obviously the core of the offering or the game is the service catalog, with offerings and fairly heavy task plans on the back because of multiple things. Some of the elements of the game we had to hard code. For example, one of the tasks would be to go ask Max a question, and Max gives a response. So we had to go and configure intent, and as part of that intent, there would be responses, preemptive responses, and based on the responses that Max then provides to the person playing, it changes the direction of the game. Never mind the other elements that we've added to change the direction of the game. And I'll maybe show you one or two examples of how we did that. So that's the idea. This is the high-level design approach we took. If we looked at the game plan, we designed even a game plan, very nicely, facilitating all the stuff that we have defined, and created a bit of a game board. We do some things, the games initiate, this is where you start the game, you take your first steps, baby steps, and then from first steps onwards, actually, depending on the dice, yes, you heard right, a dice, we can go to different stages of the game, but all of them ending up at some point in time at the end line or the finish line. That's the storyline, and we created a story for each and every one of them. So for example, when we start the thing, and it is part of the knowledge content, you are a new service management guy starting an organization, your manager gives you the task of revitalizing the enterprise service management approach, and it gives you a magical amphora to go and drive it, and it takes you to this new world. So we had a bit of fun. It was actually quite entertaining to see coming up with all sorts of ideas and creative nuances of it. So this is the slide I've got prepared only at a high level, just to set the scene. And I'm going to quickly jump into SMAX itself. So this is our SMAX, and this is the SMAX we built it on. So again, following that theme for demonstration purposes, we followed the same theme. At the end of the day, it's all about the play option. So we go to play, and you'll see there is the first step, enroll in the game, and then we've got a couple of articles and those type of things. So the idea is for the guy to go to start the game. He comes here, he submits the offering, and I'm already in part of the game. You can see you've already enrolled in the game. The idea is, and when they submit, there's a validation that says you can't resubmit because you're currently participating. But this is where we start off the game with a customer. If you look at it from a offering point of view, this is the catalog offering that we have. Again, just very high level information. But the true magic happens in the task plan, where we define the types of dice, and each dice has got a dice value dictates specific tasks, and this also generates and creates the task flow or the game flow. So if we go back to just playing the game, so if we say step 2, let's get started. Again, here we start with a high level, the things, go and change. Can you change the avatar? Can you change the language and these type of things? And obviously some of these things, for example, can you change okay, so this one won't do anything else. But for example, if you say, can you change the language, and you say no, it says, are you sure? You can. And yes, it will then ask you, how do you go and change it? So these are some of the things that we had to hard code, and these are tests to validate that the person playing the game actually did get it right and potentially doesn't need any additional assistance. Now, we follow all these type of things, but at the end of it, we want to get to the fun stuff. The fun stuff is roll the dice and, to start the next type. So we have to find, using a JavaScript template over there, we've got a nice little widget, and we say roll the dice. And as you can see, it physically rolls a dice, and we didn't manipulate it. It is a variable one. You'll see it. Demo gods, now it will come to 3. Typical demo gods, right? And there we go, 2. So there it is for the person to roll the dice, and this then starts, deferring from the storyline. So we will typically go here and say, I've now rolled 2, and then you'll see your next task is the following: get a question reference. And basically, what will then happen is, as part of the third step, now we really get into the nitty-gritty of it. What is the reference tag that you did define? So each and every one of the tasks, there is a value or something or some tag that is a reference that needs to be provided there. And we have built-in validations that goes and validates this. So for example, if we look at subscriptions, right, so here's over there, we've got the notion of subscriptions. So we actually do generate in the background the automated task to go and generate the subscription for this task with a unique value, which if the person then clicks on it, they will see there is a unique value. And this is not a hard-coded value, it's a dynamic value. So for everyone playing the game, it will differ. So there, if I've got that value, I can then go back to my task and then go and select and enter that data, and the task will then validate correctly against the subscription we have to find. So we have done a lot of those type of things, and I'll show you some high level how we did it. So the idea is for a person to roll the dice, get his task, and navigate the system, and define certain things. So as part of that, we defined a knowledge article as well. So if a guide comes to the knowledge one, a knowledge article for that specific person will be generated saying, hi Chris, welcome to the story. You are currently at this task, and this is your reference number. Making it fun. If, for example, we go to Max, so we can ask Max a couple of questions now, and I can't remember what the prompts were. Apologies. And so Max will then start responding on that topics. If I can spell the games, if I can spell correctly. Doesn't find it now. But it will then, Max will then ask you a couple of questions, right? Like, for example, do you believe in digital potential? And that goes to a certain environment. It says ITSM is fun. It gives you a different value. And so this is the type of idea that we followed. So I showed you the start. So we've got these tasks as part of our subtask task plan. You can see they are automated tasks. So these generate the number of tasks as well as what can we do on those tasks. If we look at the most involved one would be the last task, step 3, which asks you all those questions and validates. This is task 2. Sorry. So this is task 2. So we've got a couple of questions here, dynamic questions and dynamic validations to validate whether the person has gone and done it and what would be the next step. You can see over there, there's update the dice, so that when a person rolls a dice and that value is now used, so that they don't reuse that value. So we do validations on the data itself as well. Let's just quickly dive into the last one. So we can show this would be, again, a very dynamic task plan, doing validations against the tasks, as well as the game flow to see where we are in the game flow so that we can prompt the customer or the person playing the game. So, for example, I forgot to show you this. So if we go to the specific task, you will see, for example, if we go to step 3, the storyline, there's an actual storyline. So you'll see there's the gameplay, call to adventure. So, there's a nice little blurb about you have emerged, fantastic, you are awesome. Now you need to go and do the following challenge to prove your mettle. And so we built a bit of a storyline. I would say building these gameplays was harder than actually building the game, because we had to let our creative flares go quite far on that. But if you look at the last tasks, task plan, it looks very simple, but inside of these, there's a lot of validations trying to define, lookups. Where in the gameplay is the person currently? What is his next steps? How do we update the task so that it doesn't redo the same task, as well as create a new task and assign it to the person. So the service catalog of critical importance, we got stuck a little bit in one of them, which was a bit of a problem. We had to follow this flow. This was when we had our last task. There is no more tasks. So the task plan didn't fulfill. And lesson learned, we had to create a lookup to validate first, to check whether there is a next task available or not. And this was quite a valuable lesson, and we've used it fairly significantly at some of our other customers for real process use cases. If we look at the studio side of things, it's going to look a bit hectic because the flow, you can see that there we've got all the steps as part of the flow. So all of the phases or the steps that we've defined as part of the game plan or the gameplay we have here. And as you can see, we had to build in multiple forth and backs because it's a variable game. So for example, after first steps, I can roll the dice and immediately go to the get knowledge step. And from there on, I can go from get knowledge to call to adventure, or I can go from there to find the path. So there are multiple iterations of where the person playing the game needs to go. So we needed to facilitate all of the potential nuances. We tried to add an additional widget, and I'll share what the widget looks like. It's actually very simple. We tried to add an additional widget that pops up based on a specific interval as part of the gameplay. We couldn't get that right in time for SMAX. But there's a couple of additional things that we thought of that could be nice to have. As an example, if you think of, for example, Tetris, we actually managed to have Tetris in the box here as a side widget, a Tetris type of game that we defined, again, JavaScript. The problem we did have was the rendering as well as the animation, and because after 30 seconds, the animation stopped responding. We're still trying to figure out why, but we couldn't submit it with that. But that would have been really cool. So back to the studio. So this is the first part. This is the game flow, and then we've got, as part of the game flow, we've got another one, and this is the actual tasks which define what does the person need to go and do. And this is also where we set up the validations, right, so that we can track whether this person is doing it. And I'll show you some of what that data looks like soon. The game task process flow is actually very simple because it's either going to be active or not active. So, it's very simple, one phase, person's doing the task, not doing the task, or this is the next task in line. So it's a very simple flow. What it practically looks like from the game management point of view is if we go to the application itself, we go to, obviously, so you can see we've got a game score. So every step has got a specific score associated to that. and we've got a control count so that we know where is this person. We keep track of what the next task is. This then defines what the storyline is or the gameplay thing. And over there we've got all the all the tasks that have been completed as well as the ones that started. And again, from a workflow, you'll see we are currently there, and as part of it, we jumped all over the gameplay in the past. If we look at the tasks itself, we've got a couple of that we've defined preemptively as data, and this bunch of tasks would be the predefined tasks. And for someone that uses this game or maybe wants to implement this game, it was published on the marketplace, so it's available. These are the games, the tasks we used. The idea is, you can extend it, you can maybe add new tasks, change the tasks, but the world's your oyster, basically. You can come up with all sorts of different things. However, what's important is if, for example, if you look at my name, you'll see, for example, get the newsletter. If it opens up, you'll see it's very simple flow. What's the status? It was completed. It was assigned to me, so we keep track of the person. What was the game ID? What's the task? And based on us automatically creating, for example, in this case, knowledge content, we push the data back so that we can track it, so that we can validate the data as part of the person's task, so that it does have a storyline at the end of the day. So the actual tracking of the task was the simplest to do. The catalog offerings was where we spent most of our time with, and obviously from a service portal point of view, we had a with the custom widgets. So our custom widget was obviously a Java app. We defined certain things. So for example, you need to do it twice. So if, for example, we go to the home screen, so this side panel is one side panel, and if we navigate into a separate one, it's a separate line side panel. So that's why you have to have the two ones, and you'll see the sidebar position change. So if I go to this one, you'll see all other pages. So this allows the dice to be available always. And then we've got a simple JavaScript HTML page that this thing is built on. I'm certain a lot of creative people can come up with all sorts of different things. Maybe the Tetris game, ours stopped in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Maybe you can get it to stay around longer on the side panel. But this is how we did it. The idea for us was, when we set off to build this app, to have a little bit of fun playing into some concepts with an end goal in mind, which would be to facilitate adoption. This was the approach. As part of that, if we are having fun building it and then playing it afterwards, our customers or our user base that we are targeting will also have a bit of fun. And that was the whole approach behind the application. I think for what I was supposed to say, or what I should say, that is where we are.
Chris, that's brilliant what you've gone through there. I got a couple of questions, and I wanted to ask you, and maybe you can share a few things as we go about it as well. So, I guess one question that I had for you was, in terms of the catalog offerings and building out should we say, like your task plans and everything, was there any particular offering, or maybe there's a business rule that you've done on the workflow that was particularly challenging, or something that maybe a little bit more complex than normal that you could kind of show and give us a bit more detail on?
So the one that really got us was this one. So and I think it's more related to having a better or having a deeper understanding of what you want to achieve. So when we designed the tasks, and we've got the tasks, and the game end to end has got 10 tasks. So the first 4 tasks are predefined tasks. Go and check your avatar, go and check language, go do these things and these type of things. So those are fairly simple because we know what the tasks are. The problem was every time over there we came to the last task, the workflow stopped responding because it can't find a new task. And this is where, we had to build in the sidestep validation to go and check, whether there is a next task in actual fact. And it was actually a fairly simple thing once we figured it out. But I would say this was the one that, really got us a bit stuck for a bit. And stuck, it probably was for 30 or 40 minutes, just to figure out why the logic stopped. This was probably the one area where we got stuck a bit. From the studio point of view, it's a fairly simple flow, because there's not a lot of business logic associated to it, because because of the way the flow runs. You can see it's not a lot of business rules. The one thing that is of critical importance is when you design the studio app and you start building it, make sure you've got your metaphases right. I had a different approach of how I wanted the metaphases to be, but after it was created, and we got stuck with it. So this active phase looks very, very busy. So if you're going to define your metaphases up front, and then start slotting your storylines into there. So that definitely, it facilitates the process looking a bit cleaner. It won't stop the functionality, but it will look a bit cleaner. And then the other thing that was a bit tricky was how do we stagger the games. So the one thing that we couldn't figure out, Dean, maybe you can help, was if, for example, and this is why we added this thing. You've already enrolled the game. The one thing that we tried was, if a person's already started the game, so he has already used this catalog, submitted it, and without having these validations as well as the submission validation, having the ability to physically remove this offering so that they can't use it again. And then basically there will only be the one offering depending on where they are in the game. We played with a couple of things, with entitlement and some of those things. We never got that, perfectly right. We had different iterations of it working, but then we got stuck at a different iteration. So that what would be the most challenging was, how do we facilitate, the progress of the game and allowing people to seamlessly transition from the one step to the next step.
Yeah, I agree with that, Chris. So it's an interesting challenge because the concept of using entitlement actually was something I was doing before earlier this year. I was having a look at doing something similar. You gave me some inspiration for an idea, and I was kind of having a play around with the system. And the problem with entitlement is it's very much tied and, should we say, partially cached when you log into the system. And I think the problem you've got is similar to what we have with entitlement is it's kind of designed on you've logged in, and whilst you've got that session, obviously we're not expecting that entitlement to change, whereas you're trying to sort of force that entitlement change whilst as user are logged in. One way I did that was I kind of sort of faked a delay before they got past that first step. So I kind of sort of did a thing where they registered, right? The offering basically added a new role to them, but I kind of did it so that they got an email update to say that had been done, should we say 30 minutes later. So there was a kind of an assumption that they would be logged out, right, or their session had expired and they'd be coming back to it later on that day, or maybe the next day. But that was because my use case was more of a business related one as opposed to what you're trying to do here, which is obviously that very much interactive game, which pushes the boundaries a bit of what we can do with the portal. But I think it's really cool because it kind of shows that wider adoption of ideas and things.
But so, Chris, let me ask maybe the question. So your challenge is, as Dean mentioned, the timing, or how to eventually automate this to remove it?
So the idea is, and we actually got it working, Dean, but I wasn't sure what the rules are of SMAX Teamer, so we didn't use it. I'll tell you what we did now. It's a bit of a cheat, but anyway. So those are basically what it implies, all right? So a person comes and says, I'm enrolling in the game.
Yep.
Right? So now the person has enrolled in the game. In theory, what we wanted to be, what we wanted to happen is this this catalog offering for that person must be gone because he's already enrolled in the game. So we wanted to hide this, and the easiest mechanism to hide it would have been with entitlement.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah.
But now, for example, in the use cases, for example, I've now enrolled in the game. I'm not logging out because I want to play the game. I want to further play the game. So I'm not logging out so that the token gets refreshed. I just want to go on to the next phase. And that's exactly what. So this is what the challenge we had. The workaround that we did was with OO. so we, as part of the step in these offerings, based on activity that happened, we did an OO call. OO did an update back, changed the entitlement. We created a token of the user logon. Sent that back to OO did a relog on the portal, and that worked.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I think there's a bit of a jipper.
Certainly a different approach to do that. So I'm conscious of the time because you've obviously gone through quite a bit, and I think it's been a really good insight. I guess one question I got for you, Chris, is you've gone through this experience, right? And I know that you've had experience with building studio apps in the past. Is there anything out of this that kind of jumps out as something that surprised you on what you could do, or maybe that you didn't think that you could do? And then there's a sort of a bit of a follow-on question related is obviously this week we've got this app published now on the marketplace, so people can download it and try it themselves and play around with it. Is there anything that you'd love to have done as maybe like a phase 2, right? Like a to should we say that to up the game to level 2, should we say, with it?
Okay. So the first answer to the answer to your first question, Dean, would be, when we thought of how do we gamify adoption, thinking of a game and pushing a type of gameplay into SMAX, I thought, I don't see it working. I really didn't see it going. And as I started planning it, I could see from a blueprint point of view working. But again, technically, how am I going to put this thing together? And when I started putting it together, and coming up with the flows and the multiple ways that I can manipulate the catalog, and I started taking body quite quickly, and I actually had to stop because I came up with so many use cases on the back of that, of how we can facilitate things to a customer base dynamically. So that was a bit eye opener for me, as well as getting my dice to actually move, because the first version of the dice didn't move. It was just showed you the face, and then on the next slide just showed you the next face. And we actually got it to move. That was quite pretty cool. That's where the Tetris idea came to a fore as well. But yeah, I think the widget, you can do quite a bit of with. So this is a silly use case for the widget, but it opens up a whole world. If you can do that, what else can you do? So there are a couple of things that we are currently playing with on the widgets. On what is it that we can additionally do that could be quite interesting to the customers. For example, in South Africa, we've got scheduled load shedding or scheduled power outages. Yeah, it's sad, but we're thinking of doing a ticker for that there using integration, and having a nice view of when is the schedule for your location. I think that might be quite relevant and quite cool. So the widgets was cool, and actually getting a game to actually function. That would be pretty cool. The second one is not that far off. What would be phase two? We already thought of what phase two would be, is to take the service portal game and bring it into the physical operator portal. A lot of the guys I see, a lot of administrators in country and even abroad that facilitate management of the platform, and there's so much of the platform that they don't know that they can do. So, taking it to the next level would be, making a game for the operator portal or the operator side. I think it would be quite a bit more involved. How do you define the gameplay? Because we won't have the nice little dice inside the operator portal for now, maybe later. But I think the next one would be, and definitely, how do you do it in the operator portal? That would be quite a cool one.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. No, thank you, Chris. And you're right. I think there's definitely some excellent ideas there. We're moving out into ways to help train people about the wider aspects of the product. As you say, there's corners of, should we say, SMAX that a lot of people don't go to, right? Most people tend to just work in, should we say, request incident change kind of space. And there's a lot of capability in the platform. And I'm glad that you pointed out the widgets. I think to me, they're one of those areas that we obviously have example widgets on the marketplace where you can download them and try them out. But it's one of those areas that a lot of people may be a little bit nervous because it's a little bit outside of their, should we say, low code comfort zone. But obviously once you can think about the use case and brilliant idea with the countdown for the scheduled outages that you have in South Africa, I think that's a really cool and a useful idea. And I look forward to seeing that, by the way, once you've built that, and maybe share that as a widget for others to learn from going forward. All right.
Yeah, that is in the pipeline. It's far down the pipeline because got more critical stuff to do for now.
All right, brilliant. So with that then, thank you very much, Chris. I am going to take over sharing of the session. So really appreciate you taking the time today, and congratulations with obviously coming second place in the SMAX Showdown this year. And really enjoyed listening to you talk and go through it, even knowing you get to do all your work from the beach, like in the photo. I'm not going to say that I'm jealous, but I definitely look out my window today, and that's not going to happen for me. All right. So again, thank you, Chris from UnlimitIT. So with that, we're going to wrap up today. So a couple of little things just as a reminder. Obviously, you can go to tiny.cc SMAX UG topic for agenda updates. That's obviously our community page where all the recordings of previous sessions are available. So for those of you who were live and listening to this on recording, I'm sure you probably have found it already. But if you want to be part of future SMAX user groups, make sure to regularly check often for the tiny.cc/SMAXUG link. That'll take you to the registration page on WebEx, which, as you can see the screenshot there below on the screen, you'll see our upcoming sessions. So currently we've got sessions into April, but we do add them regularly. But you do need to make sure you register or tick the box for the for all the sessions you want to access. All right. So with that, I'll just quickly give you a couple of the next few sessions we got planned. So in 2 weeks, we're going to do a little bit of an office hour session. So any questions you've got, maybe you've got some questions about things that Chris talked about today, you sparked an idea and you want to do something, bring those to that session. We'll also maybe do a couple of extra capability updates as well, similar to what we did in the last session, where we'll get the technical success team to give you some deep dives into some parts of the product that maybe you aren't aware of. Then in April, April the 3rd, we'll be doing our SMAX release readiness session, and also then we'll have our office hours and 24.2. And I've just realized now, as I'm saying this, that I've got the dates wrong there, because I'm actually, the next session will be March the 6th, not March the 20th. I accidentally put the dates wrong. March the 20th will be another session, and we'll talk a little bit more about that next time. And you'll see the update if you've registered about what we've got planned for there. And as a reminder, just like Chris today, if you have a use case, if you have built something, whether you've put that on the marketplace like what Chris has done with the game, which I'd love for you to download and have a playback and providing some feedback. Or maybe you've built something as a customer, something within your environment that you'd like to share. Get in touch, contact us at the SMAX user group, either through the community or reach out to myself or Brindusa over email if you've got our email addresses. We'd love to have you present. We'd love to share your enthusiasm, just like Chris today. And we're always happy to have you. This is for you, of course, to share and collaborate. So looking forward to that. All right. With that, thank you, everyone.